The discovery of America marked the beginning of an era of imperial power for Spain, which made the country one of the largest colonial empires in the world. However, while Spain controlled vast territories in the Americas and Asia, it surprisingly only played a minor role in the colonization of Africa. Spain was largely left out of the race for Africa, which was dominated by powers such as Great Britain and France in the 19th century. It only controlled small territories in what is now Equatorial Guinea and parts of Western Sahara, which it later had to relinquish. Nevertheless, Spain is still the only European country that still has territories on the African continent. With Ceuta and Melilla on the north coast of Morocco, Spain owns two enclaves that go far back in history and are often seen as relics of colonialism. But why do these cities belong to Spain and not Morocco? And why do the enclaves keep making negative headlines? All these fascinating questions are answered in this video. The roots of Ceuta and Melilla go far back into the past. Even in ancient times, these cities were strategically important outposts. Phoenicians, Romans, and later the Moors used the location on the Mediterranean for trade and defense. In 1415, the Portuguese conquered Ceuta and made the city the first European colony in Africa. Even then, the city was an important trading center where spices, gold, and other valuable goods from Africa, Asia, and Europe were traded. However, when the Portuguese king died without direct descendants in 1578, the so-called Iberian Union was formed, which united the Kingdom of Portugal under the Spanish crown, and Ceuta fell to Spain. After several wars with Spain, Portugal regained its independence, but the small town wanted to remain Spanish. Spanish expansionism in the north of Africa led to the Spanish-Moroccan War in 1860, after which the current borders of Ceuta were established in the Treaty of Tetuan. The history of the Spanish in Melilla begins somewhat earlier. After the end of the Reconquista in 1492 and the expulsion of the Moors from the Iberian region, Spanish expansion in North Africa began with the conquest of Melilla in 1497. In the following centuries, there were repeated unsuccessful sieges, mainly by Berber tribes, the Sultanate of Morocco, but also by other European powers. This led to the city being completely developed into a fortified town. Melilla later became famous for the uprising of some of the Spanish troops stationed in Melilla under General Francisco Franco against the Second Spanish Republic, which triggered the Spanish Civil War. When Morocco gained its independence in 1956, Spain withdrew from large parts of its protectorate, which included large parts of the North and Western Sahara. Ceuta and Melilla, however, remained under Spanish control, a decision that continues to cause tensions to this day. For Morocco, there is no better argument than a look at the map. For them, these are occupied territories in their own country, whereas for Spain, the cities are an integral part of their country. But what do the inhabitants of the cities say? Most of the population naturally have strong traditional ties to Spain. They enjoy Spanish citizenship and the rights associated with it. That's why there are hardly any major movements calling for secession from Spain. Ceuta and Melilla have repeatedly hit the headlines in recent decades, mainly because of migration. As the only land borders between Africa and the European Union, the cities attract many migrants who try to cross the heavily secured border fortifications. Morocco, which heavily guards the borders with Ceuta and Melilla, plays a central role in this. In May 2021, Morocco once showed what happens when it abandons its guard posts. Around 10,000 people swam to Ceuta within 48 hours. For the EU and Spain, the cities are therefore also key points in European migration policy, but without Morocco's support, they would be overwhelmed. The question of the future of Ceuta and Melilla therefore remains open. Morocco is repeatedly calling for talks on the sovereignty of the territories, while Spain is strictly opposed to this. The enclaves remain symbols of a historical legacy that stretches far back into the past. That's it for today. If you want to find out more about Denmark's connection to the world's largest island, I recommend my video about Greenland. Have fun watching it and see you next time. Ciao.